Welcome back to another video. I am Scott, this is Techno Eclipse, and today I'm going to talk about how Epic Games just sort of owned Google and how this is actually a bigger problem for Android in general. Let's just dive right into it. So I was reading an article today about how Epic Games is not going to put Fortnite on the Google Play Store and is in fact just going to have it be downloaded from the internet. Basically, you just download it from a browser and it'll show up on your phone as an app. This is way easier to do on an Android phone than it is on pretty much any other device other than a Mac or a PC, mainly because iPhones are so locked down. Xboxes, PS4s, and Nintendo Switches are really locked down. You can pretty much only get apps that are available from the native app store. But since Android is open source, this is not commonplace, but this is allowed. So why is this such a big problem for Google, for Android, and how Epic Games might just change the face of Android as we know it? So the reason Epic Games was against putting their app on the Google Play Store was because Google took a disproportionate amount, 30% of all of the net proceeds from the app, and 70% goes back to Epic Games, and they were like, that's not fair, even though Apple does the same exact thing. But since Apple doesn't allow anybody to download any app that's not from the App Store, essentially, then they're kind of just stuck to doing that. Plus, they may have worked something out with Apple. I have no idea what the reasoning behind them putting that on the Apple Store first, or what, the Apple App Store first, or what, I'm not really sure, but I guess it doesn't really matter in this case. But this is a bigger problem for Google than just Fortnite. So Fortnite is the biggest game on the planet right now. It's been the biggest game on the planet since probably for almost like a year now, 6, 7, 8 months. It's a huge game, vastly popular. I've played it. It's actually pretty fun. I don't play a lot of video games, actually. I like to play on my PS4. But I don't have a monitor anymore that has an HDMI port, so I haven't played Xbox or a PS4 in a really long time. But in general, I never really played that much. When I do play, I normally just binge a game and then finish it, and then I'm done with it, and I don't play for a really long time. But in general, I don't normally play games on like an Xbox or a computer or anything. But Fortnite is one of those games that was so big, I had to try it. Played it. It's pretty fun. I never got sucked into it. I played it on my phone at first, and I started liking it a lot, and then I played it on my computer a few times, and then I just sort of stopped playing it because it just was never that interesting to me. But what Fortnite has done here is going to change Android in the future, and I don't know if it's going to be for the better or for the worse. I personally believe it's going to be for the better, and let me explain. So Android is open source, as you know. Android is an operating system. I think it sucks. Bigger fan of iOS, but it's usable. It's the most used mobile operating system on the whole planet. Obviously, it's not that bad, but I'm just not a very big fan of it. But the biggest problem that Android has is that it's not locked down. It's open source. That's like the whole selling point of Android. Any developer can put their skin on it. So let's say LG wants to put a skin on Android 8. They can. Samsung puts a skin on Android 8 whenever they release it, 4 months after it actually gets released. This is a bigger problem than just Google losing out on a huge game and a lot of money. This is showing that people can just go around Google, and Google needs to lock it down. If they want to make Android this huge money-making operating system, which they can, they need to lock it down. They need to have rules for these companies that put these operating systems on their phones. They have to have more rules. But the problem is that the design of the operating system is sort of against having rules. So, for example, iOS, as you know, is super locked down. You can only download apps from the App Store. You can only get this specific operating system on these few devices, iPhones and iPads. That's it. You can't get it. LG doesn't make an iOS device. Samsung doesn't make an iOS device. Google doesn't make an iOS device. Although they want them to look like iOS devices, they're not iOS devices. Well, the Google Pixel 1, not the 2. The miniature Google Pixel was so ugly. No, but I digress. So what does this really mean for Google? Well, Epic Games is taking the fight back to Google. They're like, well, if you're going to let people download apps from other sources and make your operating system open source, I'm not going to give you 30% of the money. People are going to download Fortnite no matter what. Fortnite doesn't need Google. Google needs Fortnite. Fortnite does not need Google. Fortnite can get their app on an Android phone and have it be successful. they needed Apple to a point, but Fortnite is doing very, very well all by itself. And they don't need Google. They don't need the Google Play Store. They just really don't. And it's so funny to me that Google, by nature, allows, with their operating system, allows other companies to sort of take advantage of them and then just sort of trick them and beat them. And I think this is a bigger problem than just Fortnite. They have, obviously, they have the updates, which they get updated in like September or August of 2017, and then the updates don't come to Samsung phones until 2018, and like not like January, sometimes like February, March. Like, this is insane. If Google wants to be as successful as Apple, in my opinion, on this side of things and make more money, they just need to lock it down. People probably won't like that. Personally, I'm a fan of it. I like that it's locked down. It makes me feel safer. It makes me feel like I'm gonna get the latest and greatest security patches that day. As soon as it comes out, I'm getting it. You know what I mean? But when you have a Samsung phone, that's not necessarily true. The updates don't come that frequently because Samsung has to put their skin on it, and they have to do this and this and this to it. But with Apple, it's totally different. It's a totally different game. And when they release something, you just get it like that day. The carriers look at it and they're like, okay, well, it has to be released like within the day. There's like rules with iOS. I think Google is going to be making an operating system, whether it's called Android or something else, that's locked down. It's the only thing that makes sense. It's the only way to go, in my opinion, because at this point, it's just becoming ridiculous. It's becoming a hassle. It's hurting Google's bottom line. And at the end of the day, it's all about money. And Google, as much as you guys love Google and hate Apple for only making products for money, it's like Google's a company too, and they love making money. You know what I mean? They charge businesses so that you see their ads first. Like, you need to remember that Google wants to make a lot of money. They want to make the most money they can. And the way they do that is not by saying, oh, well, these customers on YouTube want us to keep it open source. No, they're going to be like, well, what makes us the most money? And they're going to think, well, let's lock it down. They're going to lock it down. So let me know what you guys think about this video in the comment section down below. It's interesting to see that I think Epic Games is going to have sort of a, this isn't going to be what pushes Google. I guarantee you Google's already been thinking about this, but it's interesting to me to think that Google is going to have a lockdown operating system similar to what Apple has, and that's like the big selling point on Android. I wonder if this is going to help Google or actually help Apple in the long run. Let me know you guys' thoughts in the comment section down below, and if you liked the video, consider subscribing. 220 subs, that's rad. And if you didn't like the video, leave a mean comment, dislike, and say, Scott, you're an idiot. That's the mean comment for today. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Upload schedule Monday through Friday, live stream Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will see you in the next one. Peace out.